Thank you very much for inviting me for today. I think I have to give a special thanks to Roman, who had the courage to invite somebody who represents a quite anarchistic project compared to what I usually see in museums. So, as Amanda just said, Out to Sea was exhibited together with the local science center in Universitarium, which we called, or in Aalborg, that we call Universitarium. And Universitarium is always placed in this center called the Utzon Center. It is of course designed by the famous architect Jørgen Utzon, who was also the man behind the Sydney Opera House that you might know. It's placed right on the waterfront in Aalborg, and this location fitted very well with the theme of Out to Sea. So I think I owe you a bit of an explanation of what Universitarium is, because I think we could call it a pop-up science center. I'll try to apply other names on it, but it's not a common science center that you might know. Universitarium is a kind of event that takes place every year in July, August and September. The entry is free for everyone, and it is the city of Aalborg's answer to the challenge that not enough young people and children pursue their careers in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, the so-called STEM subjects. And I know that this is a pan-European problem. In Germany it's more known as the MINT subjects. We are organized in a partnership where Aalborg University, where I work, is the main stakeholder. And then we are together with the University College of Northern Denmark, Tech College Aalborg and the city of Aalborg. And all these stakeholders share a common interest in educating the local citizens so that they become skilled within the STEM subjects. And that's also the reason why it's supported by the City Council of Aalborg. In Universitarium we always theme our exhibitions. And in 2015 the theme was Waste No More, as you might get an idea from the poster here. So we have a target group that are families, and of course we pay special attention to the children. And this year the theme was much broader than the sub-theme of plastic alone. So Universitarium had sub-themes such as going from landfills in the earlier days to more modern waste deposits that are secured against liquid leachage seeping into the groundwater. We showed something about incineration processes to ensure energy recovery. That's something that we do a lot in Denmark. And we had a sub-theme about waste segregation, and particularly how to use science and technology to sort metals by using, for instance, eddy currency. Our visitor numbers was quite high this year, like others of you experienced. So we had 4,800 visitors, and this included almost 5,000 school children. And actually it was a record for us. So we assume that this has to do with bringing the two exhibitions together to a mutual benefit, like having Out to Sea in one part of the exhibition halls and Universitarium in another one. So to describe Universitarium, I think we could also call it a do-it-yourself science center. It's based on hands-on activities and interactive and sensory activities. And then we are very keen on having what we call adaptive communication provided by student guides. So we always have 4 or 5 student guides from the university working in the exhibition. And they're able to go into a dialogue with the visitors there, and also to see whether they stand in front of a 5-year-old kid, his engineer father or the grandmother. And this needs different kinds of communication. And this also means that we have a reversed business model compared to other science centers. So we spend a lot of resources on our students' guides rather than on the objects, and that's also what you can see in the pictures. These objects that we show have absolutely nothing to do with design. So our motto is that we would like to show science that changes your world. It's very important for us that the things that we show there have a relevance to the visitors, a kind of what's in it for me approach, so that they are able to take an interest in the science that we show to them. And this year's theme was particularly good, because everybody has a garbage bin at home and deal with garbage every day. And then you might wonder, how are the objects then designed? Well, I designed some of them together with experts from the other partnership, from the other partners in the partnership and in the working group. And then we have the things made by, for instance, tech college students or university students. We have some of them produced by local businesses, or they're sponsored by local businesses. And then we have some of the research workshops at the university, where the things are done as well. And here in the picture you can see we're building a sewage exhibit here. And this is made in the Wave Laboratory at Aalborg University, where they usually do big research projects. And as you might have noticed on the pictures, these artifacts are quite do-it-yourself-like. And I think they're more comparable to a hackerspace than to a high-gloss science center. And I met one of the guests earlier today who asked, what is a hackerspace then? So I think I owe you a bit of an explanation. But it comes from the software businesses where, of course, where you hack things, you go into them and change them. And you also might know the notion of IKEA hacking, where you change the common IKEA design to fit to your purpose. Then we had some interfaces between Out to Sea and Universitarium. And there were 3 sub-themes where Universitarium could correspond to the topics in Out to Sea. We had the gyres, plastic cycles, and sewage and microplastics. So the first one here was the gyres. And here we tried to make a transition from the Out to Sea exhibition to Universitarium. So we put this small exhibit right in the middle. And this illustrates what happens when plastic collects in gyres, and when you turn the handle, you make a gyre yourself. And then we had a whole row of exhibits narrating the steps in the mechanical reuse or recycling of plastic. You have to sort it, you have to shred it or regrind it, you have to melt it, and in the end you can reuse it. So the first step is the segregation of plastic. And we need this in order to ensure that the quality of the plastic does not decline. So we had the robot over here who was able to ask you, could you please show me one of the pictures here? And on the pictures there were, for instance, a garbage bin with bottles in it. And then the robot could tell you what it sees in it. So this was about visual recognition. And then it also told about that we have these, Then we had the different marking systems. You see the triangle system here, and we told about that in the future we might use RFID tags. We could end up using unique numbers in the future to mark the plastic. But the main point was, of course, that marking the plastic is necessary. And it's also necessary to develop a technology to sort the plastic. And then it comes to the shredding part, because when you have recognized your plastic type, it goes into a shredder or a grinder. And as you can see here, somehow damaging is fun at all ages, and that's something we've experienced in a lot of exhibitions we've made. So this is an old paper shredder that has been rebuilt to grind the plastic. After grinding the plastic, to reuse it, we need to extrude it, a typical plastic processing method, in order to make new material out of the old one. And we would have loved to show a real plastic extruder, but we called all the companies that we could think of, and the last company was pointing at the first one, and then we gave up. So we ended up asking one of our partners, Tech College, who educates smiths, to build one for us. So this is an exam project from smiths in the Tech College, and it worked fine for 3 months, although of course it needed to be repaired sometimes, and maybe here you exactly see the hacker style. There are things from old computers and a bottle here and some aluminium paper. So that's how we do it. At the end, we also wanted to show, of course, what plastic can be used for when we have made this new raw material. And here we borrowed a 3D printer from a local R&D business in order to show what we can make of it. And this was something that really interested the people here. They wanted to see it print all over again. So we also contacted a local company that produces nice furniture fabrics. And they put this little exhibition up for us. And here you could see how old plastic bottles, PET bottles, can be grinded and made into new, nice fabrics. And what surprised us a lot was that most visitors are not aware of that their textiles are actually made from plastic. They thought that it was somehow just, they just know the names from acrylic or polyester, but they don't know that it's plastic. So here we could have complex discussions and also doubts about whether it was a good thing that the plastic was in the first place reused, or whether it was bad because when we wash our clothes, then we have the microplastic to diffuse into the environment. And this is what this is all about. Here we want to show how waste can travel from your bathroom into the sea. So we built a mock-up of a bathroom over here, and as you might see here in the picture, we had a sink, a toilet, a transparent sewer system down here. And we also showed old shampoo bottles with soap for the washing machine, and other beauty products here. And maybe, I don't know if the picture is so big that you can't see it, but we had small Lego bricks attached to the bottles here. And we did that because there are lots of invisible matters in here, like heavy metal, endocrine disruptive substances, and microplastic. And in the front here, we placed something that's very common in a Danish context at least. I don't know if you have someone at home. I brought it here. Anybody knows this one? Common dishcloth made from plastic. So the big question here is, where does the hose go? People think of them as they've disappeared, but they're actually not. So we ask everybody here to see what happens if you, we even have a plastic poo here that you could flush out in the toilet and it would end up here. But we also ask, what do all the other things go? And of course, in Denmark at least, it goes into the wastewater treatment system here. Here we had 4 processes, and the invisible matters of nitrogen and phosphor was also represented by bigger Lego bricks. And they came floating in here with real water coming in. We asked people to step up here on the bench and do the 4 processes with us. So they should take away the big Lego bricks. And they succeeded in doing that, and they also removed great hairballs here and other stuff that you throw in the toilet that shouldn't have been there. And then in the end here, we had a little aquarium representing the sea. And over here you could see both here and in the aquarium that the smaller Lego bricks were not taken away by the wastewater treatment. So that was where the hose went. The microplastic ends up in the sea here, and we could answer the question where the hose went, because there was a little plastic fish here, and the plastic fish eats the microplastic, and who eats the fish? You do. So that was the story we told the visitors here, that nothing goes away, it ends up somewhere, and unfortunately microplastic. Nobody has thought about it before. So all the maximum permissible values that we have for water in Denmark didn't take care of the microplastic, or the heavy metal, or the other invisible matters. So what were the challenges then of bringing 2 so different exhibitions together? Well, Universitarium has the characteristics of being a please touch, please try. We have a lot of focus on function. We had the dialogue going on with the guides. And we also, of course, had a lot of breakdowns of these do-it-yourself exhibitions. And the Out to Sea was a more traditional, please don't touch exhibition, please read the signs. There was a focus on form and design. There were no guides, you were on your own. But of course this was a very reliable exhibition that didn't break down. So I think we got the advantages of both by bringing them together, because we could at any time point at the big central installation of plastic to our guests and saying, this is the result of not understanding what plastic is and what it does to our nature. And we also had the poster examples to point to. We don't use posters in Universitarium, we use small films. If you're interested, you can watch some of them in the internet, but unfortunately they're in Danish. So I think that Out to Sea fulfills wishes of aesthetic design and having facts, a very adult wish, whereas Universitarium fulfills the wish to learn on your own and use your senses. We have this kind of sensing is believing approach, and we also think that sensing is understanding. And the feedback from our visitors we mostly get from our student guides. And they said that the topic was very interesting to the visitors and they were very concerned about it. They took great interest in it. And they also told us, and that's something we know from all the former years as well, that all ages like to have these aha experiences where they suddenly find out where something what happens when you deal with it. We also did a little survey of the visiting school classes, but unfortunately there was only these 390 pupils who answered out of the almost 5,000 visitors. So that's of course not really valid data. But anyway, we asked them, to which extent would you like to know more about science and technology after the visit to Universitarium? And as you can see, up to 80% became more interested, if we can take this for granted. So I was often asked during the opening period of Universitarium from other professionals or institutional visiting Universitarium how do we dare tell these complex stories, the bad stories about how difficult it is to find good solutions on the waste problems. And I think they're a bit afraid that people will be disillusioned by our facts and that they would worst case give up sorting the garbage and dealing with it. But I think it's important, and we agree on that in the Universitarium Working Group, that it's important to tell the complex stories if at all possible. Because we promote science, and science is searching for knowledge and truth, although it might be complex. So therefore, when we tell the story about a bottle turning into a nice fabric that we might use as clothes, and then it later might end up in the stomach of a fish and you eat the fish, it's both a good and a bad story at the same time. So therefore, my question for the later discussion will be, can complex stories be told in an exhibition setting? And how do we do it? Because we don't know if we succeed with it. We think we do, but we're not sure. So thank you very much for listening.